Hi, ladies. It's Dr. Hudgens. I have finished reading your goals and objective drafts and provided feedback to you on your actual Word document within Blackboard, as well as provided feedback in your rubric for you with your point totals. Please know that if you are struggling with this assignment, it is common for students to struggle with this. This is huge. We know that developing goals and objectives that are going to have to get you through 3 courses can feel a little daunting, that the process can feel kind of unclear, partly because we're asking you to kind of build a bridge while you're walking across it. We want you to have an idea of what you're going to do in 618, 619, and 620 before you get there. Be purposeful in your design. Whatever feedback that you've been provided, if you have additional questions, if you want to reach out, talk with me, I'm happy to have a phone call, exchange some emails. It is so important that you not only read the feedback, but that you understand the feedback, and that understanding helps guide the development of a really good set of goals and objectives. I want you to know that if things change in your practicum setting, or for some reason you feel a need to change a goal and objective, you can do that. But it's important to know that the process for doing that is that you're going to have to go back in, make the revisions to your goals and objectives, reach out to the person that's teaching that course that you're making the revisions for, have them reapprove your goals and objectives with any revisions, and then you'll place those back in Typhon and move forward from that. But any changes do have to go through a revision process with faculty approval. So the better effort you make now, the more likely that that it's going to last a little bit longer and you're going to be successful without having to make changes. When you think about your goals and objectives, I really want you to be thinking about the context for this assignment. The reason we are giving you this assignment, the reason you can't just go to practicum and hang out and see what you see, is we need you to be intentional about your growth and development in the role of the nurse educator. The NLN core competencies give you kind of a rule book to use for the development of your professional practice, but this gives you a way to customize that, to really take what the NLN suggests in this handy dandy book and put it into your own meaning, into your own practice. But know that the NLN core competencies, the roles of the nurse educator, those 8 competencies are really the things that your goals should be wrapped around. Do you want to facilitate the learning? Do you want to do learner development? Do you want to look at your own quality improvement so that you maintain your own rigor and excellence? Do you want to work as a change agent? Think about the things you really want to be good at the end of the practicum setting. Being a nurse educator is so much more than just teaching. We know that facilitating learning is the meat and potatoes of what we do, but it's only the pieces and parts. It's not the totality of what we do. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes that helps us maintain our own excellence that I want you to put your fingers in. So go back through with fresh eyes. Look at your draft goals and objectives. Ask yourself, is this really what I want to be good at the end of my practicum, at the end of these 3 courses? I want to remind you that 618 is heavily focused on teaching strategies, the nuts and bolts. 619 is curriculum development. Do you have a goal and objective that's about curriculum development? That's going to be covered in 619. 620 is really about role development. What does it mean to socialize to the role of the nurse educator? Kind of the big picture stuff. It does heavily focus on your integrative literature review, so there's a piece of scholarship that goes into that. The idea is that between 617 with simulation, 18, 19, and 20, that you've had your finger in lots of the ways that we work as nurse educators. I want your goals and objectives to have a finger in each pie when practical. So be thoughtful as you go back and look at your goals and objectives. Think critically about, do these really get me where I need them to be? Your goals should be about those 8 competencies that the NLN tells us about. It should be you demonstrating proficiency or advanced skill if you're already in an educator role, in the facilitating of learning, or in the role of a change agent related to something in your practicum environment. Your objectives need to be about how you will accomplish that goal. And we want our objectives to be measurable and clear and realistic. But we don't want to drill down so far that they become to-do lists. They become tasks or tactics. Anything that you can do once is a task. And you want to avoid doing tasks because then it becomes just a metric that you're doing. It becomes a checkoff list. So think about if you would, let's say you want to be really good at writing tests, and you know that's a development opportunity for you. It's not something you're really good at. So you want the opportunity to work on assessment and evaluation strategies. So instead of writing an objective that says, we'll write a test for whatever class you may be teaching. Okay, that's a tactic, that's a task. Check, I'm done. Think about approaching it more broadly, like an objective would, and think about writing that the graduate nurse will use a variety of evaluation methods to assess student outcomes or student learning outcomes in this course. So then you're not just saying, I'm going to do a test. You're acknowledging that there's more to evaluation than a test, and you're going to use a variety of them. If you want to put 2 or 3, that's okay. My concern is I don't want you to treat your objectives like a checklist, and I don't want you to treat it like something you're just enduring. It needs to be an experience. It needs to be something that you're going to explore multiple times. That's how we learn. If you can do it once, you've not likely really learned something. Learning is a progression. It's a step-by-step method. So go back and look at your objectives and say, is this task, is this something I can just check off once and say, done? Can I broaden it, but not lose the concept that I'm trying to address? Guys, I know this feels like trying to turn water into wine. Hang in there. I promise once you get the gist of this, you will figure it out and you'll go, oh, got it. Know that I'm here and I'm happy to steward you through the process, talk through the process with you, get to the other side. We start out hard so that later it can become easy. You do not want to be in the middle of your practicum trying to figure out what on earth when you're writing your practicum logs and you're trying to relate them to your goals, and you look at your own goals and think, I've got no idea what I was thinking and it doesn't relate to anything I'm doing. With intentional design of your goals and objectives, it will connect with your practicum work and you'll be able to evaluate it more clearly. So know that there's a method to the madness. Just take a deep breath and I promise you will get through this. Okay, enough said. Make sure I've covered my notes. Yep, and just to remind you, if you have not been approved to start your practicum hours, you need to continue to submit, continue to work on those. If you are someone that is still working on revisions and you have not been approved to start your practicum time, if you submit your final version in Blackboard, I will try very hard to grade it quickly. But I cannot review another draft and give you comprehensive feedback. If you feel like the revisions to your draft are done and you want to submit it for final feedback and a grade, I will look at it as soon as my time permits, and I promise I will try to get to it as quickly as I can. I get that there's a sense of urgency because this feels like a very short period of time, and there's lots of things going on during the holidays, and many colleges start running out of things for you to do in a couple of weeks. So I get the sense of I got to get this done, and I'm happy to work around schedules as much as mine can accommodate. Before you submit that final draft for grading, if you have questions about the feedback you were provided, please contact me. We will walk through it before you do that final revision and submit that for a grade. I'm trying to think of as many ways as I can help you get moving as possible without violating the process of it being a graded assignment. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so that was this week. Let's talk briefly about next week. You're going to write your paper about their teaching philosophies. I want to encourage you to be very diligent with your APA formatting. This is a paper that lends itself to level 1 and level 2 headings. Your reference list should be adequate to cover the concepts. It should include scholarly resources and from peer-reviewed journals. Be thoughtful about that. At this point in a 600 level course, APA should be the last thing that you get tangled up on. So really be diligent. If you have questions, reach out. Use the Ask the Professor link for the who, what, when, where kinds of questions, and know that I will do everything I can to provide you quick replies to that. From a paper standpoint, I want you to be thinking about, before you even start writing, ask yourself, what do I think about learning? What do I feel about teaching? What are my thoughts about that? Kind of jot some ideas and really spend some time really reflecting on what are the things that I value about education? What are the things I believe about learning and education? And how do I see that playing out in my professional practice? What are my goals when I think about teaching and my perspective on that? Those are the things that fit into your teaching philosophy. And I want you to be able to develop a teaching philosophy that's a couple sentences long. Your philosophy, when I'm reading your paper, I should be able to look exactly in a certain spot, a paragraph, a section, and there's your teaching philosophy. 3 to 4 sentences. If you're having a hard time articulating those things, I'm going to ask you to stop writing and go back to draft mode. Take a blank piece of paper and pen or pencil and just sit down and jot your ideas down. You want to have clarity about your teaching philosophy, just general concepts, before you start writing. Because if you don't have clarity on that, you will wander all over the place and not be able to be focused on answering the prompts for this assignment. So just think about, what are your thoughts about teaching? What are your thoughts about learning? And how does that play out in your own practice? There's a requirement that you attach this to a theory or a framework. I'm going to encourage you to really think about, what theories out there that align with this, and be able to clearly explain, this is what I believe, and this is how the theory supports this. Connect them clearly. It's not enough to say, this is what I believe, and oh, by the way, here's a theory that I throw in there because I Googled it. I am not a fan of theory, but I know through all my classes and all my education and my role as a teacher how important theory is for us to understand why we think what we think, and the theoretical underpinning, the value that provides us really helps guide our own practice. So theory is the starting point for our evidence-based practice. So I do want you to take that step seriously and really connect it with your own philosophy of teaching. So I hope that gives you some guidelines. This is a busy season, so I realize that you have some time constraints and that you have some stress going on. Know that we are in similar boats. Life is swirling. No matter what I do, it will not slow down. So I appreciate the stress that you're under. Know that you can reach out to me. Use the Ask the Professor link for, you can tell I'm tired. I forgot what I was saying. Ask the Professor link for general questions. The who, what, when, where, how, where do I find, things that everybody may have a question about. Anything specific to your own experience or to your grade, please send those directly to me by email. I will also encourage you not to tag team me. Please don't put something in the Ask the Professor link and then send it to me by email, because then I get confused on how you want me to reply. And it also bogs down the system a little bit. So pick a way, send it to me, and trust that my reply will be prompt. Know that I'm here. Know that I'm praying for you. Let me know how I can help you. I'll look forward to hearing from you. Take care.